All right, we're on the phone right now with Orlando Baxter, who used to be a high school teacher here at South High. Is that right, Orlando?
Yes, I was at South. I'm a graduate of South High. I also taught at Sullivan Middle School as well as the All School for many, many years.
Wow. So you graduated and then went back to teach. I don't hear about
Yes.
that very often. I mean, did you have to work with teachers that used to give you a hard time?
Yeah, a few. Like one of the teachers ended up being my principal, Miss Maureen Benenda, who was also ended up being like the school superintendent for a while.
Yeah.
So that was fun. That was good. It was good times. But I think a lot of the teachers when I was there, a lot of them had retired. But there was also like a couple of classmates, not classmates, but people that I went to high school with that was also teaching from South. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. And you grew up here in Worcester.
I grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts. I was a Great Brook Valley kid for a long time, and then I moved to Maine South and kind of never left.
Yeah. It must mean a little bit more. Not saying that all the lineup for the Manny 267 benefit coming up at the DCU Center doesn't mean a lot to the people participating in it. But to you, since you're from here, does it just mean a little bit more?
Yeah, anytime I have like an opportunity to come back home and like perform in Worcester, always, because you just see familiar faces in the crowd and, you know all these like local things that probably a lot of the other comics don't know about, and you get the opportunity to kind of put your spin on a lot of those things. So it always means a lot more. And plus, I just know a lot of people from Worcester. So obviously to be doing something for, a comedy show for a really great cause is, something that I'd want to be a part of.
I just want to, as far as your teaching goes, have any former students approached you about getting into comedy? And if they have, what did you tell them?
I told, yeah, of course. I've had former students. I told them it's not easy. It looks easy, but it's not easy, and it takes a lot of time. I just kind of, with comedy, it's such a personal journey. For some people it takes a little longer. For some people, their talent shines right away. But I guess the advice I give them is what I give all like newer comics or people trying to get into comedy, which is just try to get on stage as much as possible, because the goal is to kind of find your voice on stage. It's very easy off stage. You know who you are. Your friends know you're funny, but it's very difficult to make a room full of strangers laugh,
And when you first started in stand-up, did you immediately say, well, I'm going to use my teaching experience as a resource, or did you come into that later? Did you realize, hey, I know this, I'm going to go with it? Yeah,
it kind of was something that I discovered after I started teaching. I kind of was teaching and coaching basketball, and at some point I kind of felt like a hypocrite, because I was always telling kids, like, if you're passionate about something and you want to do something, you should go after it. Don't be afraid to do it. And secretly, I had always wanted to try stand-up. I think I did some, because I went to Holy Cross too, so I'm like a Worcester kid.
Yeah, wow.
And, so when my senior year, one of my roommates signed me up for a competition at Holy Cross. I ended up winning it, but I was like, I won because I had a few drinks, and it wasn't because it was like talent. So that never left my mind. So for years, I just kind of sat on that. And then after I was teaching for a while, I decided to like not be a hypocrite and give it a try. And then once I tried it, I kind of fell in love with it. And then it was just like this hobby I did for many, many years until 10 years ago, I decided to, leave teaching, take a leave of absence, see what happens. And I haven't been back since.
And would you go back, like, say, if you decided to get out of comedy and you were looking for, a job, would you get back into teaching?
I think I would, only because I love the students. Like I really enjoyed the opportunity to be from the Maine South area and to kind of like work with students that grew up in that same neighborhood. There was always this connection. I think I would. And if anything, I'd go back just to get some more jokes and then take another leave of absence.
I can only imagine. I mean, watching some of your stand up, you definitely pull from
Yeah.
that, and that's just daily material. I would imagine.
Yeah.
My wife was a teacher, but she was kindergarten through third grade. So it was they were very, very young. But imagine you get into middle school, high school, that it just becomes like you're just taking notes every day. You're just like, I can't believe this happened.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like my day was try to survive the day. Sometimes that's what it felt like, but also try to write down as much material as possible, and just because that was like my therapy. Like, so things would happen at school, and I would just go on stage and kind of start talking about it, and that was like how this whole thing kind of started.
That's great, and that was also free as opposed to paying into some medical benefits. So you got a really good bargain there. Has there ever been a time while you were a teacher that a student had done something that you just thought was hilarious, and then you let it slide?
That I let it slide? I did. I think there were times. I think there were a ton of times where kids were they're just funny. A lot of times they don't even realize how funny they are. And I think there have been a couple of times where I'm just kind of like, all right, man, like I see the point. It's a stupid idea or a stupid thing that you did, but, I see the humor in it. I see where you were trying to go. So I'm gonna let you slide a bit. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say anything to anybody. I'll just go on with your day. Don't do it again. Go on with your day.
Yeah. That's awesome. Has there ever been a time where you used an instance like that in your stand-up, and then the student that you were talking about has come to you later and said, "Hey, that was me. I want 10% of your paycheck"?
Yeah, there's been a couple of attempts. I did have this one incident where I was telling this story about this. I was watching this class, right? And this class was playing they were playing, it was like states and capitals, and it was middle school. And, the kids is playing this game, and, 20, 30 minutes into the game, the score is like, it's 0-0. Like, they're not getting any answers. And I'm trying to hold it all in. And this is, I can't make it up. So one of the kids, the final question was like, I guess we were like, all right, well, maybe we're asking difficult questions. So someone says, all right, well, what's the capital of Massachusetts, since we live in Massachusetts, right? So you think someone's going to just yell out Boston. And one of the kids was like, the letter M. And I've never, like, it was like a pause.
Oh, my God.
And kids, but the funny thing was the kids that were on the person's team that yelled it out, they're clapping, and they thought they won.
Oh, my God.
Yes. It was insane. And I think when that happened, I immediately went to the stage with that. And then maybe some years later, it wasn't the student, but it was the other teacher in the room with me. Like, yeah, man, I need to share some of that money too, because I'm the only one that can confirm this story for you.
Has what you learned as a high school teacher helped you in dealing with other comedians?
Yeah, well, not so much other comedians, I would say. I think just different crowds. I think a lot of times, when you teach, you're dealing with all these different personalities or situations where you got to kind of keep your professionalism, even though there's chaos in the stands. And I think that helps, chaos in the classroom sometimes. And I think that helps at shows, when you're in a room full of alcoholics sometimes that seem to love to heckle and yell out things. And like for some comics, some comics can, you could lose your composure a little bit. And I think that because I've been in the classroom with all types of kids and just handling certain situations, I think I believe, I have a very calm demeanor and approach to hecklers. And I usually come out unscathed. They get damaged, but I come out fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you've heard it all on several different levels already.
Yes. Yes, and it can throw you off your game. It could throw you off your game, and I think, as a teacher, sometimes you'll come in with a lesson plan, but the kids have other ideas, or maybe some of the kids are not on their medication that day, and it can go to chaos, and you still got to figure out a way to, do what you got to do. And I think that's something that I pull from teaching to kind of, despite the craziness, of the way comedy can get sometimes, I can kind of maintain.
Yeah, you can't.
Let me knock on wood, Joe.
Yeah, you can't lose the crowd. I mean, in both of those situations, right? I mean, that definitely, especially in a school. I mean, I would imagine if I know you've talked about being a substitute teacher, and that's like easy bait. I mean, that's just like a steak laying there in front of a pack of hyenas. I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to maintain. So and that was the other thing. I think that's a misconception about me too. I was a substitute, a long-term sub for like maybe 2 years. But other than that, I got certified in history. And then I taught history. I taught TV for a long time. And then I also was the school's in-school suspension teacher for a number of years. But I was certified for years. Everybody's like, oh, you're a substitute teacher for all these years. I'm like, no, I was a substitute teacher for 2 years, 2.5 years tops. Yeah.
I think history is the subject that I think in the past, I want to say 30 years that students have really let go, or I don't know, maybe it's the schools just aren't providing the resources for it. It just seems like there's more and more. Maybe I'm just an old man and I'm grumpy. But it's just like, it seems like there's a lot of people forgetting about history. It just seems that way with the way things have been going, maybe even for the past 10 years in this country, that a lot of people weren't paying attention in history class.
Well, it's boring for the most part. According to the kids, it's boring. So I never had I was always funny, and I think the funniness always helped in class. My problem was I had a bad memory. You cannot have a bad memory.
With dates and times.
No, you cannot. That's like being a math teacher that counts on his fingers. The kids don't really trust you as much. But no, I loved it. I loved it. I love the students. I think like I said, my problem was my ADD would act up, and I'm like, oh yeah, not that day, not 1982, 1492. That's what I meant. You know what I mean?
Well, I find that to be true in my high school experience, is that the teachers that had a sense of humor and that kind of accepted, they knew the kids didn't want to be there, so they tried to humor us in some way. Were the teachers that because I'll be quite honest, I grew up in Natick. I went to Natick High School, and I didn't go a lot.
Okay.
And but it was like the teachers, but the teachers that made it funny or interesting somehow, I would do well in, because I would pay attention more, because they'd get a laugh out of me. Except for my geometry teacher, she was just smoking hot. So I was, and I was like 16, so of course I was like riveted to her. But I find that like you got to bring some humor. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because most 99% of the kids in that room don't want to be there. Yeah.
I think 100%. I think having a sense of humor, or figuring out a way, like you got to kind of figure out a way to kind of know the kids on a level that's not just about the subject matter. Like, if you got a shared interest in a sport, or a shared interest in music, or just kind of knowing something about them, figuring out a way to try to connect with them. Like for me, obviously it was humor. And then, sometimes I would use sports, and then we kind of get into the material, but just having this connection to the kids to kind of let them know that you care. I think that's one of the best things that I had when I was a high school student at South. It was not just like there was some teachers obviously with a sense of humor, but I always felt like the teachers cared about me more than just as a student, and I think that was super helpful in like my growth and maturity as a student.
Nice. All right, Orlando Baxter, I appreciate your time. You're going to be at the DCU Center on Saturday night for the Manny 267 Foundation benefit. A stellar lineup there. Harrison Stebbins, Emily Ruskowski, Corey Rodriguez is coming back too, and Rafi Gonzalez, Paul Nardizzi we spoke to last week. So looking forward to that. Before I go, and it's just because this program is like food centric, and I'm just a big fat guy. Your favorite place to go out to eat in Worcester?
Ooh, it's been a while. Because I don't live in Worcester anymore. I live on the outside. I live there. I'm there, but I don't live there as much.
Well, maybe back in the day when you did live here, where was your favorite place to go?
There's this place called Addie Lee's that I liked.
Over on Main Street? On Main Street. Still open.
Addie Lee's. It's still open.
Yeah.
So Addie Lee's. Let's go try out Addie Lee's.
Okay.
And then was it Chuck's? Not Chuck's Steakhouse. What's it? Chop 111. Is there 111?
Oh yeah, they're still open too on Shrewsbury Street. Oh yeah.
Let's go 111 Steakhouse as well. You can't go wrong there.
All right, Orlando Baxter from Worcester, former South High teacher, and going to be at the Manny 267 benefit comedy show, DCU Center this coming Saturday night. Thank you very much for talking to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. See you guys there.